Murphy for the third. We got you covered on what is turning out to be a very busy day here in Milwaukee and around the country. We'll do a quick rundown of what we're tracking here on what is a gorgeous Thursday afternoon, the second day of October. Does not feel like it. Excuse me, feels more like summer. And we'll get into some of the potential for some record high temperatures here in the city looking towards the weekend and Friday. Also happening right now, the Archbishop of Milwaukee is the featured guest at the Milwaukee Press Club's Newsmaker Luncheon. This is a series where they bring in notable names from around the community with journalists from the area asking questions. The man actually just to the right of the Archbishop right now, the Archbishop's right, our screen left, is none other than FOX6 anchor Ted Perry, part of the panel today. So we're hoping to catch some of the line of questioning from the journalists there to the Archbishop of Milwaukee, Jeffrey Grob. One of the other things we are, of course, following as well is what is happening in Washington, D.C. I believe this is Senator Amy Klobuchar, who is speaking on the Senate floor right now. Of course, day 2 of the government shutdown, and no signs that this is ending anytime soon, as both Democrats and Republicans casting blame on the other side of the aisle for the shutdown. Republicans wanted to extend existing spending a few more months while debate continued on some larger priorities, while Democrats instead wanted to use this moment as a chance to push for extensions to Affordable Care Act funding and other things that they wanted to see added to that spending. Republicans refused. Democrats, as a result, were not able to pass it. Republicans, though, not able to surpass the 60 votes needed for a Senate filibuster. So instead, we are now in the second day of the government shutdown. And even today, some notable things happening from the Trump administration, continuing to push for changes and for those spending bills to pass. We'll get into some of that for you as well with a live look at the White House, a little farther down the National Mall from where the Senate floor debate continues at the U.S. Capitol building. Again, lots happening at this hour, but we're going to start actually inside of Milwaukee City Hall. This is an interesting debate happening that's been going on for much of the day now, continuing into the afternoon. The Common Council Public Safety Committee is questioning Milwaukee police about the department's chase policy. And this, of course, relates to some recent tragic events that we've covered in the news, including crashes that have led to the death of innocent victims in other cars during police chases. This has been quite a back and forth. Our Jason Calvi has been covering this for us today at the Common Council Committee hearing. So let's get into it. We'll get some of the back and forth from the Public Safety Committee questioning Milwaukee police about the department's chase policy.
The point here, we have an oversight function to exercise. I will exercise it. I will be, on occasion, direct to the point of rudeness. But that is my job, to exercise that oversight. So just want that clear. And it's not a small matter. This is a life or death discussion we're having. So anyway, that's it by way of excuses.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Alder Cox.
To Alderwoman Taylor's point, I think what probably would be wise is that report that you create for FPC, if you could share that with the council. And Alderwoman Taylor, if you would allow, I think that a resolution should probably be directing that on an annual basis as that report is created, that it is also shared with the council formally as a communication file here at Public Safety, so that it's not just after we hear complaints from our constituents, it's on an annual basis that the chase policy is in front of us and that we are looking at the statistical data that surrounds it and evaluating it. And as far as whatever additional information you may need to include that council members may suggest, my suggestion is whatever questions I ask you today, those are the types of information I would love to see in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the end of the slides, or do we got one more? Sorry, you're on the hot seat.
I think it's it. It just shows the link to
Okay.
previous reports.
So we've had a very full discussion. Alder Moore, it's your file. Would you like to summarize or take us home?
I just want to say thank you all so much. I know that this is a very challenging conversation, and not only conversation, but the ability for us to do something that's going to, again, result in better outcomes for the residents in our city. Even though each of us represent particular districts, at the end of the day, we represent the city. And so we want to figure out and exhaust conversations, opportunities, try things, but to continue have this as an ongoing conversation. I appreciate Alderwoman Coggs for, stating, hey, is this something that we can talk about every year, just so that we're just being transparent to the residents of our city, and, so that folks know that, one death is just one death too many. We take these things very, very seriously, especially when it results in the loss of life. And so we know that we can only do this type of work collectively and together, and to provide our community an opportunity to also come to the table and express their concerns. Chair, I'm not sure what options that I have, but
would you like this file held to the call of the chair so
yes,
we can
please.
revisit it? Okay.
Thank you. That would be my suggestion. Hold to the call of the chair.
Okay. With that, Alder Moore is moving that this file be held to the call of the chair, so we can revisit it at a later date. Are there any objections? If not, then so ordered. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the discussion. Is there any last comment you'd like to make?
No, I think this marks the third time I've spoken to PSH about the pursuit policy or some aspect of it, so I appreciate the conversation, appreciate the feedback, look forward to communicating with you all in the near future. I would only ask if the expectation is, if it's an annual basis, that date is kind of set or provided in stone, so I'm not given a day notice or some variation. It takes a while to put this together is what I'm saying.
Yep.
So if we're just provided that ahead of time, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Yep.
Quick, Mr. Chair.
Alder Moore?
So if we're, Assistant Chief, if we're looking at data for 2020, where we're in 2025, how would it take 3 months, 6 months to get that, to really pull that information to provide a presentation for the following year?
I would
just
say
so that we have a sense.
If I just had at least a 1 month lead up time, then that would be sufficient enough.
She's asking for the coverage of the entire year, though.
Mm-hmm.
So annual report in February?
Oh.
Right. That's what I'm alluding to.
Yes.
Okay.
So if we were to present, so if you wanted this same type of presentation and then we did it in February, then yes, that would be enough time to cover all of 25 data, and then because I always do at least 2 years worth of comparison data, so 25 and 24. So yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Well, motion has been made by Alder Moore to hold this to the call of the chair. Are there any objections?
As that meeting and the appearance of that Milwaukee police representative there is wrapping up, we will be getting more on this for you from our Jason Calvi, our political reporter who is inside listening to all of that committee hearing. Of course, this has been very prominently in the news because of a couple different chases involving Milwaukee police where the vehicles they were chasing ended up crashing. And unfortunately, in a couple of those cases, the other vehicles, victims that were not involved, that were hit in that chase and crash, people ended up dying. So questions about the larger policy for chases in the city of Milwaukee, how you go after a criminal, potentially a suspect in this case, but do it in a way that doesn't cause harm to others in the community. We shall see. Now, if you caught this at the very beginning when we first got in there, the lead of the committee there, Alderman Spiker, was talking about being direct to the point of rudeness, and that is in reference to something Jason told us about that had happened inside of an earlier part of that committee hearing. Actually, the Milwaukee Police Chief of Staff, Heather Hove, walked out of the public safety meeting at one point earlier in tears, according to Jason, and that was after Alderman Spiker, in her words, had been quite rude to her in the line of questioning and the back and forth in that committee hearing. So again, we're going to hear from Jason a little bit more about that, but quite a bit of fireworks coming at the beginning of that meeting, which we did not catch for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but we'll get the reaction to that after apparently the chief of staff for Milwaukee Police left at one point in tears. And you saw the other representative from the police department there finishing up with the committee. So we'll get that from Jason coming up later on Fox Local here on the Wisconsin Live Desk as he continues his interviews and reporting. He'll bring us some of that in the middle of the day for us here, this extended 3-hour edition of the Live Desk. Since this is switching gears now at the Common Council building, let's switch gears ourselves back to that Milwaukee Press Club event featuring the Archbishop of Milwaukee, Jeffrey Grob. And you see on the right there our own Ted Perry, Fox 6 anchor, along with other members of the media here, Sophie Carson from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, asking some questions now of the Archbishop leading the largest Catholic diocese in the state of Wisconsin. Let's just listen in to some of the questioning for the Archbishop today from Ted, from Sophie, and from other members of the media.
At the end of the day, I mean, I have to be true to my role and to who I am. So first as a person, but then also as Archbishop, in a sense, and I have to, be, in a sense, the one, the roles of a bishop, to govern, to teach, and to sanctify. Those are the 3 roles. And so as teacher, I'm obliged to call it to truth, but I also have to stand, I don't get the get out of jail free card, say, oh, well, you get to wear the pointy hat and sit in the big chair in the cathedral. In a sense, what am I doing? And it was a sincere question because I'm bombarded, in a sense, by the different commentaries of people saying, again, going back to it's too much, it's not enough, it's whatever, or how dare you kinds of things. I was tickling my own conscience, even in writing that. And just a moment, because I want to hope that the things I write are insights into my own thinking and my own struggles. Because I don't have all the answers. I'm not the Shell Answer Man, even if people even remember who the Shell Answer Man used to be. I'm not and I mean, in a sense, yeah, I mean, do I want to be political? No. I have no desire to be political, but I'm thrust into a world where I have to be political. My politics is Jesus Christ. That's why I was very content being a parish priest, to celebrate the sacraments, to walk with people on their journey to find Christ, to grow their families, to grow faith, to nurture the sacraments, to live the truth. My role changed around me, and so I have to translate that into a broader scale, a bigger picture. So how do I do that competently, honestly? And sometimes, too, subtlety is lost on a lot of people. And you try to say things, and it's kind of like, you might want to go back and read that one more time, because you missed something. Instead of hitting people in the face, if I have to hit people in the face, it's kind of like, I lose all the sport of it. Because there is part of it to say, I want you to think. I want you to, in a sense, grow. I have to do the same thing. And especially the complicit part and stuff. Because at the end of my days, with all due respect and as wonderful as all of you are, I'm not going to be standing in front of any of you as my judge. Right? Thank God you're not going to be standing in front of me as your judge. We're all going to be standing before the one Lord. And he's going to say, okay, I gave you this faith, whatever portion, whatever amount of faith. Everybody has a different portion of faith. I gave you this role. What did you do with it? How did you grow the faith? How did people come to know Jesus Christ better because of who you are? That's why, in all honesty, I don't blow smoke, because my eternal salvation hinges on that. At the end of the day, I put my head on the pillow, and I only have to answer to one person. It's not the Pope, although I'd be very happy to answer to Pope Leo. And that's a long answer to a short question, But there has to be passion about these things. It has to be passion about faith, about what we say and what we believe. It has to be real. Otherwise, it's just so much smoke.
So, going off everything they've all said with everything going on, there's a lot of people who have left the church and distrust who she is and her foundation and distrust the clergy. And they believe that they put a lot of faith into the priests instead of into God. How can we, as children of God, bring that faith and help bring them back and bring that trust back into both the church, into how beautiful she is, and back into the clergy and what they're trying to do, and ultimately back to God, so that we can, as I said earlier, have that faith and be reminded of who we are, so that we have that internal peace. Like, how can we bring everything back to Him?
Well, we've got job security because we have a lot to do. Shame on those. And again, however, any of us were part of that in driving people away, but especially the scandals, that were perpetuated, the moving of pedophiles, all of those things. Let's name it. I mean, I served as Cardinal Supich's delegate to the review board for 15 years, and saw the underbelly of it all. Things that would turn a lot of people's stomachs, and it should. The thing is, with regards just to the whole notion of that in general, as far as misconduct, since we're on it, if you don't mind just for a second, in the sense is we can never become complicit. We can never become anything other than vigilant as we move forward. We have to have learned from our mistakes, otherwise we're really sad. But as far as ongoing things, just like looking at safety and the like, what are we continually revisiting in this archdiocese? I'm on for that. I'm on for the safety, especially of our children, and that what systems are in place that we're continually reviewing so that can never happen again. Not that it still doesn't happen. The human creature, when it wants to be creative and sly, is able to pull all kinds of tricks, huh? But that means that we still continue then to work all the more diligently. But so how do we bring people back? In a sense, I believe we stand with our faith, we profess our faith, because we have a core deposit of faith that is freeing, that is liberating, that is good. And I believe, visiting in this short handful of months, visiting parishes throughout this archdiocese, the belief, the love that people have for their parish priests, even in light of. It's incredible, in a sense, how people still love their priests and support their priests. And some of them can be real schmucks. I used to be one of them. I still am. Now I'm a schmuck bishop.
Archbishop.
Yeah. One more title. You can still be a schmuck. Because we all have feet of clay. Holy orders doesn't remove the schmuckness or the human frailty or the sinfulness. How do we call people to task? How do we people called to live lives of integrity, of honesty, and that? All of those things. And that's in any profession. The Catholic Church doesn't have the corner on misconduct. I know that's a surprise to some people. We're not the only ones. We have enough to point our fingers that we don't need to point our fingers at anybody else, but just for the sake of truth, we're not the only ones that have to deal with this problem, huh? So how do we, I believe in a sense of, continuing to be who we are as children of God, as brothers and sisters of Christ. That's our strong suit. And how do we continue to bring people to that?
You've sort of answered one of my questions in this two-part question here. So good job. If St. Bridget is the patron saint of dairy farms, you grew up on a dairy farm, and St. John Vianney is the patron saint of priests, I'm wondering, do you have a favorite saint? I think we all do. I think maybe we can all say who ours is. And if so, who is it, he or she? Why? And how do Catholics find that saint to be that role model for us? And along with that, what's the bare minimum you're asking of Catholics in this archdiocese in 2025 so that they can still call themselves Catholic? It's sort of a similar question, but with two prongs.
Okay. My favorite three are in my coat of arms. So if you look at my coat of arms, now that I'm an archbishop, I lost half of my side of the coat of arms because half of it is the emblem for the archdiocese, but it's still now compressed into smaller pieces. But you'll find 2 fleur-de-lis and 1 crescent moon. And so the crescent moon represents Mary Immaculate, so Mary, the Mother of God. The 2 fleur-de-lis represent St. Joseph. Was born on March 19th, the Feast of St. Joseph, and I love St. Joseph. First of all, he was the perfect husband because he just shut up and did what he was told. What wife doesn't love that? Huh? Honey? Right? I can see a lot of husbands. Yeah. Yes, dear. No, I mean, but in all seriousness, the profound nature of St. Joseph, how often did he speak in Scripture? Nada. And I honestly, sidebar, I bet you the man was afraid to fall asleep because every time he went to sleep, he had another dream, and God was visiting him, saying, "I'm not going to." Talk about constant, coffee, caffeine, but he heard God's voice in his life, and he did it. Isn't that the perfect model? The other fleur-de-lis is for John the 23rd. Little did I know when I put that coat of arms together that I would become an archbishop where there's a magnificent statue of John the 23rd in the cathedral church. Good Pope John. I love John. And hopefully the best thing he can model for me is never to take myself too seriously. Because he didn't. Great stories. There's books, collections of quips by John the 23rd. And my mantra from his that every night I go to bed. It was what he was. He said, Lord, he said, I'm going to bed. He said, the church is yours. It's reality because I'm not the church. I'm not. This is property of the Lord's, and we are about His work. Of course, the other famous one as far as when a reporter put the microphone in his mouth, and they were visiting the Vatican, and they asked him, how many people work here, and he said about half. That's John the 23rd. Anyway, I'm sorry I'm going longer than
the bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
What do you ask of Catholics in this archdiocese? The bare minimum.
Go to church. In a sense, even if you can't receive the sacraments, because we're a communal church. In a sense, we're not a whole bunch of individual satellites. We're the community coming together. It's the oldest image of the church. Even when it was unsafe and underground, people gathered in the catacombs. People gathered because they came together for one thing, to celebrate the Eucharist. Whether you're able to receive the Eucharist or not, it's the community gathered together in faith. If you have to sit in the back pew, and that's all you can do is sit in the back pew, you're still a member of the body of Christ. And then, of course, you grow from there. You show up. And that's, I think, half of it. That's half of life, isn't it? There's a famous quote about you showing up. That's what we need to do, and then we grow from there. The sacraments, everything else. Good works. Like I said, the most wonderful blessing from the early church is may you become what you receive. May you become what you receive. You receive the body of Christ, you become the body of Christ. It's not just a consecrated wafer. It's a living reality, as is that consecrated wafer.
Thank you. I had a quick follow-up question regarding the clergy abuse.
Well, we got to hear from our own Ted Perry there, part of the panel at the Milwaukee Press Club. We do have to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. The questioning continues with the Archbishop, Jeffrey Grob, there at the Press Club, so we'll try to get you some more of that, as well as some updates from some other news stories happening around Milwaukee today with our Christina Van Zelst joining us hopefully soon after this break. So, quick 2 minutes here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and we'll be right back with more on a very busy Thursday afternoon.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back. It's the Wisconsin Live Desk hanging out with you on this Thursday afternoon. Carl Defenbaugh right here, getting you started for the first hour of Wild, as we sort of like to call it here. Haley is up next, and Kim Murphy will be joining for the third hour now, as we have expanded this week to 3 full hours of local news as it happens from our Milwaukee studios, taking you around the state, around the region, around the country, certainly with some of the news when it comes to the government shutdown in day 2 now from Washington, D.C. We'll get back to some updates on that. We do want to give you another live look at downtown Milwaukee. It's a gorgeous day here with the sun shining over the downtown skyline and the beautiful blue skies and clouds. Potentially tomorrow, as I'll pop this up from our friends in the weather office, the chance for us to set a new record high on Friday. It is a forecast to be 85 degrees right now, but 86 degrees is the possible record that we could break going back to 2018. So we'll see what happens tomorrow and into the weekend, but certainly does not feel like the first weekend of October here in Milwaukee and across southeastern Wisconsin. All right, let's get you back to some of the serious news of the day, unfortunately, and we are going to bring in our reporter on this story for us today. That would be Christina Van Zelst, covering the fallout from a shooting that took place on Monday, where unfortunately a woman died in this shooting. But we have some new developments today, Christina. Why don't you take it away? What are you working on?
Yeah, Carl, we did get some new information that the Glendale Police Department put out about an hour ago, that they have officially named this suspect in this case. They arrested him in Indiana. So to just take you back to this entire shooting, we're currently in Glendale, standing outside of Kemonte McFarlane's home. She is the victim in this case. Police and the medical examiner's office identified her today. She was 45 years old. Yesterday there was family gathered here for a vigil. You can see some of the flowers left behind from that vigil, and there are balloons here in the tree. Again, this is in Glendale. And we know today now that Glendale police have officially arrested somebody. They arrested Demontra Hambright, and authorities say that they located his vehicle that was wanted in connection to this in Indiana, and those sheriff's deputies in Clark County attempted to pull him over. He took off, which then led police on a high-speed chase, ending in a crash. And then the sheriff's deputies there say that he did try to run, but they eventually got him into custody and is currently working through the process of extraditing him back here to Wisconsin. So again, we know a 45-year-old woman, Kemonte McFarlane, was killed in a shooting here in Glendale. This all happened on Monday night, and they have officially arrested the person wanted in connection to this, naming him as Demontra Hambright. And Carl, we just talked with neighbors in this area who all seem very tight-knit. They told us that they, unfortunately, a lot of them saw this whole thing happen, and they heard everything that went down on Monday night around 11:40, and people are still just in shock, but they do at least have some sort of ease that that person wanted in connection to all of this has since been arrested, and that was announced today. So that's what we're working on today. We'll have photos of the woman who was killed. She was also a dental hygienist in the Milwaukee area for 18 years. She had 3 kids, according to neighbors. So just a devastating loss here. Obviously, there is still balloons in her memory and these flowers in her lawn, but just a heartbreaking story here out of Glendale.
Yeah, it's awful to hear, especially for the children left behind, and if she was so close with her neighbors there too. One piece of information, Christina, that I know we're still asking some questions on. According to the authorities, though, that suspect who was arrested in Indiana was known to the victim, to that woman. Do we have any idea what that relationship was like, or anything that we've heard from police or neighbors at this point that could kind of tie the reasoning behind this shooting?
Yeah, police have not said. I did ask that question this morning, what was their relationship? All they told us was that the two knew each other, but in talking with neighbors, they said that they were in a previous relationship. So neighbors here had mentioned seeing the man that was arrested in the area previously, didn't necessarily know him that well, but they did say that they were in a previous relationship and that he was her ex-boyfriend.
Interesting. We'll get, I'm sure, more from authorities as they bring that man back to Milwaukee County here from Indiana, and we get the full criminal charges potentially coming in the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office from that, the possible relationship, the possible motive, and all of that. All right, Christina, thank you so much. It's a tough story today, but thanks for bringing us that new information here on the Live Desk.
For sure. Thanks, Carl.
All right, we'll let Christina get back to her reporting on that story today. Again, if you want to hear her full story, that will be later on Fox 6 News at 4, 5, and 6, with sound from those neighbors who knew that woman suffering a loss. The descriptions of the 3 children makes your heart break as well, knowing that their mother is no longer here, although there is a little bit of closure, at least for the neighbors, with the fact that the suspect that authorities were seeking has been identified and arrested in Indiana. And that man, again, DeMonte Hambright, who was arrested after a high-speed chase ended in a crash in Indiana. All right, while that is one of the news stories of the day that we're following, let's get you back to the Newsmakers lunch that we left you with just as we were going to break there. Ted Perry, along with the Archbishop of Milwaukee, other members of the media being asked questions there today. Let's listen in. Ted just asked another question of the Archbishop.
Charlie Kirk was a human person, was a husband, had a wife and a child. He did not deserve, like anyone, to end like that. I don't know if I would compare him to a modern-day St. Paul.
All right. Looks like our reporters are finished, so I'm going to open it up. If you have a question, raise your hand. If you could please identify who you are and ask your question very briefly, because we want to try to get in as many as we can.
Archbishop Tom Heinen, a question on the recently completed Synod on Solidarity, addressing collaboration within the church, working together. Do you see that having an impact locally on how the church is run, the roles of laity, of clergy, of vowed women religious?
I mean, I think it's a question even we have to ask ourselves as far as what did we do, because I know there wasn't a whole lot of participation in this local archdiocese. During the most recent synod, I'm aware of a synod that took place in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee in, 2014, thereabouts. But there wasn't a more formal participation in the most recent synod. But that doesn't mean, because we need something handed down in order to do our own synod? Because I think we have to continue to come together to discuss, to ask questions. I think for me that's life. And that's vitality, instead of just simply saying, well, you just shut up, kid, and do what you're told. But, in a sense of how do we grow together? Because the world is continually changing around us, so how do we dialogue? That's what's my frustration with so many of the polarities is, I'm in, you're out. But once you stop the conversation, the dialogue, it's dead in the water.
Hey, I'm Quentin.
Hi, Quentin.
I wanted to ask about Catholic schools. So, the short version of the question is, I count about 100 in the Milwaukee Archdiocese, and then about 280 Catholic schools in Wisconsin. And with birth rates, maybe a less religious generation of parents, parishioners dying, and then teachers retiring, it could be a really challenging time over the next 10 years for Catholic schools. So, what role do Catholic schools play to you in the formation of new Catholics rather than, the families staying within the faith? And then how are you going to make sure that as many stay open as possible?
Thanks, Quentin. The thing is, the fundamental question is how do we pass on the faith? It seems for many generations, and I believe in, with the work of our own Catholic Schools Office, the work of Seton Schools, that, there's a viability that continues because of the sacrifice of others, the work of organizations the work of Seton School and our own, to continue to, yes, there's a lot of shrinkage, there's lots of worries. So, we have to keep addressing the reality of the institutions, the buildings. But the fundamental question is how do we continue to engage people, in a sense, parents, to raise their children Catholics, parents that probably don't even have a good handle on what the Catholic faith is. In the sense of the challenge of generations and that, in a sense, I think there's more of a rebirth and, an interest. I think it's always a dance as far as the movement of faith and people interested in faith and the dance of faith. People go in it, go out of it. I really believe there is, in a sense, a desire. Maybe the one current generation or the previous generation was away from the faith, but the next generation is kind of be able to ask those questions again about the role of faith in their lives. So always to be, and, does the model change? the notion of Catholic schools is very much an American thing. It's not universal. So, how do we foster and guarantee that the faith is passed on? I think we've got some very good product, so to speak, going on here. But then, for myself too, for me, just one thing alone is just presence. My presence. I want to go to as many Catholic schools in the Archdiocese as I go to Catholic parishes to support them, to know that to the best of my ability, they have my back. Or I have their back, I'm sorry. And, how do we continue to foster all of that? We're recipients. It was handed down to us, namely the faith. It's our turn now. What is the next generation going to look like thanks to us or not?
Anybody else have a question? I have a couple questions.
Sure. It's always the ringer.
Yeah. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question. I did ask Archbishop Listecki the same question about women priests and women deacons. And I know that answers are, well, it's male priest because image of Christ. Male. Well, aren't we all made in the image of Christ? And so what do you see as the role of women, be it women priests, women deacons in the church?
What did Archbishop Listecki answer?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, ditto. No, ditto.
Oh, really?
No, I'm kidding. Well, it's ongoing, certainly, according to St. John Paul II, the discussion is over. I'm just quoting, these are not, that was his statement. It's always a situation of, the church moves in her own time. I'm not trying to pass the, looking just more recently, under Pope Francis, the study of women, called to, diaconal ministry. And it's all kind of, in some ways, is the can being kicked down the road? On some level, is it possible? To clarify, you said that we're all made in the image. We're all made in the image and likeness of God, as opposed to Jesus. And that's a fine line we can debate, theologically. I have to work within the current structure. I don't think as Archbishop I want to start ordaining women priests or deacons because it'll be a real short tenure.
Would you favor it, though?
Would have it packed?
If
I don't have any fear of it. What did I just do most recently? The Archdiocese has not had a vicar for religious in 15, 20 years. And just appointed Sister Diana de Bruin to the vicar for religious, and in fact her office is right across the hall from mine, in the L wing, which has kind of classically been the tower of power in the pastoral center. For me, I see the role of women is integral in the life of the local church. In a sense, I've been around this fishbowl for too long. And so my concern is I prefer to stay working within the system than going outside of the system. And so what can I do, knowing the parameters of the system, to create balance? And so to be able to, to put women in, there are many very capable women, where, in what roles can I place them, that they are honored and they're respected in that role. That's my plan right now. If it changes before 5, I'll let you know.
Yeah, give me a call. I'm available.
Yeah. But thank you for the question, because it continues. It's a perennial question. And I think
I have a lot of, obviously, female friends who ask.
Well, the questioning continues at the press club there. We're also giving you a live look at the White House. Actually meant to keep that press club shot up there for you. Interesting lines of questioning when it comes to the role of women in the Catholic Church and the changing evolution of that over the years, and what we caught the tail end of a question from our own Ted Perry there you're seeing on screen as it related to the late controversial conservative activist Charlie Kirk, of course assassinated on that Utah Valley college campus recently. What you heard the Archbishop of Milwaukee there, Jeffrey Grob, responding to was actually a former Archbishop of Milwaukee who held that position years ago. That would be now Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who recently compared Charlie Kirk, again, the conservative activist thought by many to be quite controversial with his views and beliefs. Cardinal Dolan compared Charlie Kirk to St. Paul the Apostle, saying he was a modern-day St. Paul. And you heard Archbishop Grob's answer to that, noting, as so many have, of course, Charlie Kirk in no way should have had his life ended like that, while also saying that he would not compare Charlie Kirk to a modern-day St. Paul. Interesting difference there from the current Archbishop of Milwaukee to comments from the now Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who used to serve in that position overseeing the Archdiocese here in the Milwaukee area. All right, we're due for another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Some of the questioning continues. We'll see if we can get you back to that and some of the other news of the day that happens. But actually, how about this? We go from the Archbishop of Milwaukee, famously grew up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin, to this. Shots of cows from a representative, from someone running for governor in the state of New Jersey. This is the joy of the Wisconsin Live Desk. You never know what's going to pop up and what we'll be able to find. And there you go. If you were thinking, hey, I want to see some cows today, we got you covered. Not from the dairy state, although that would make sense here in America's dairyland of Wisconsin, but instead from New Jersey, providing the bovine feeds for us on this Thursday afternoon. All right, we'll see what we find, because you never know what it's going to be after these 2 minutes on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh with you. And if you've been joining us since the beginning of this first hour of 3 on the Wisconsin Live Desk, you're seeing the very end of what we were able to bring you for much of that time. Archbishop Jeffrey Grob of the Milwaukee Archdiocese chatting there with our own Ted Perry, who was on the panel of journalists asking questions of the still relatively new Archbishop of Milwaukee there, along with a member of the Journal-Sentinel, other representatives of the media in the Milwaukee area at the Milwaukee Press Club's Newsmaker events. Always interesting to see who they pull for those headlining appearances and what comes out of it. And we certainly got a series of thoughtful answers there from the Archbishop overseeing the Catholic faith for so many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands here in the Milwaukee area. And if you're wondering, the cows are still doing their thing. I think those actually might be some other farm animals. Looks like maybe some sheep or llamas? I don't know. Too far away to tell. Maybe some sheep out there from this farm in New Jersey that just randomly apparently had an appearance from someone who's soon to be running for the New Jersey governor's seat there in that state. So having some fun with all the different feeds that we have for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. All right, we want to get to some of the more serious news of the day. That would be day 2 of the government shutdown continuing to play out in our nation's capital and as a result all across the United States. Let's give you a live look once again at the White House there, and we'll run through some of the updates that have come today. The one update you will not be getting, the end of the government shutdown. That's because there are no votes scheduled in the U.S. Senate on that funding bill. So it has failed in the U.S. Senate already. There's nothing scheduled right now in terms of another vote today that could possibly end the government shutdown. So here are a series of the questions and updates that we have gotten from the White House, from members of Congress on both sides of the aisle throughout the day today. Now, one of the big things that President Donald Trump had said he would do and has started to enact is using this shutdown as an opportunity to reshape the federal workforce and, using some of his own words here, punish some of the detractors that he sees of his administration. So the budget director, Russ Vought, on Thursday has already met with the president talking about some either temporary or permanent spending cuts that could set up kind of a lose-lose dynamic for Democratic lawmakers around the country. Some of these, the Office of Management and Budget announced it was putting on hold roughly $18 billion, billion with a B, of infrastructure funds for New York's subway and Hudson Tunnel projects. These are, of course, in the hometown of Democratic leaders for both the U.S. House and Senate when it comes to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, both of them from New York. And the Office of Management and Budget announced it was putting on hold those roughly $18 billion in infrastructure funds for the New York subway and Hudson Tunnel projects. This is day 2 of the shutdown right now, and already there has been such divisive language back and forth, Republicans criticizing Democrats for what they see as unreasonable asks, wanting to push through billions of dollars in extended Medicaid and Affordable Care Act healthcare spending, while Democrats are saying this is their moment to take advantage of Republicans and some of the gutting programs that they have enacted over the course of this year already, trying to counter some of those with the need to keep the government funded as well. A lot of people have a lot of questions in terms of what's happening now, what continues, what doesn't, back pay for federal workers, as we locally have covered about 18,000 or so federal workers in Wisconsin, many of them impacted by this. There's no vote scheduled today. Senators taking a break for the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur today. They will return on Friday, though, and then vote again on that Republican measure that would extend federal funding for 7 weeks. So not a full extension or a new funding bill, but instead an extension of existing funding for 7 weeks. That has already failed, with Republicans unable to overcome a Senate filibuster. So they would need 60 votes. That's about 7 or 8 Democrats switching sides and voting with Republicans. They did have 3, but they have not reached that 60-vote threshold yet to extend government funding. Now, one of the other things that has happened today coming from the White House, I want to make sure that we get the numbers correct on this. We mentioned the specific pullback of funding for projects in New York, Democratic strongholds where many of the leaders of the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, call home. Well, the Trump administration has also canceled $7.6 billion in grants that have supported hundreds of clean energy projects in 16 different states. Notable states because all 16 of those chosen from the White House here were states that voted for Kamala Harris in the last election. Those cuts also announced by Russ Vought, the White House budget director, who said in a social media post, nearly $8 billion in, quote, green new scam funding to fuel the left's climate agenda is being canceled. And again, those cuts come as the administration as a whole is threatening major spending cuts and firings, specifically targeting Democratic states around the country as this government shutdown plays out. The energy cuts in this case, again, this is $7.6 billion worth of grants supporting clean energy projects. These are things like battery plants in different states, major hydrogen technology projects, upgrades to the electrical grid, as well as carbon capture efforts. All of this according to a nonprofit environmental group, Natural Resources Defense Council. So a number of different things happening right now. The war of words certainly playing out from both sides of the aisle. Both Republicans and Democrats blaming the other political party for what is now day 2 of a government shutdown. And we will see what is still to come as many of these news and updates are happening on the fly today, while there is not a vote scheduled in the U.S. Senate. Now, separate from this, but still involving the Trump administration here, something else that the president has declared today. The president declared drug cartels in the Caribbean unlawful combatants. And the language here is important because according to the president, he says that these drug cartels operating in the Caribbean being deemed unlawful combatants means that the U.S. is now in a, quote, non-international armed conflict. And that's according to a memo from the administration obtained by the Associated Press today. A U.S. official familiar with this, according to the AP, was not authorized to comment, but was notified about this designation by Pentagon officials. All of this comes after the U.S. military just last month carried out 3 deadly strikes against alleged drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean. At least 2 of those carried out on vessels that originated from Venezuela. And then the language today in that administration memo is that those drug cartels operating in the Caribbean are, quote, unlawful combatants, and that the U.S., according to President Donald Trump, is now involved in a, quote, non-international armed conflict. So a number of different notable things coming out of D.C. today, most notably for so many, would be the ongoing government shutdown with no clear end in sight. Certainly today, we'll see about the vote tomorrow. Would it play out through the weekend and then days and weeks potentially to come? The government shutdown 7 years ago in President Donald Trump's first term, 2018, lasted 35 days. I believe that's the record for the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. So a few of the different things we're following for you here on this Thursday afternoon, both locally and nationally, and we will continue to follow that for you. Let's take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. 2 minutes. We'll be right back at it on the other side.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh with you here. We're about to do our handoff for Haley to take over the second hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. But first, we want to get you a live picture from our sister station down in Houston, Texas. And this camera is moving around a bit, so just bear with us here. This is from our station partners down there, all covering an explosion at a downtown hotel in Houston that was under construction at the time. Multiple people injured in this as well. So we'll get you some of the details here as this camera feed hopefully stays with us. It's kind of been freezing a little bit by trying to get you a cleaner picture of what is happening in downtown Houston right now. It says multiple people, according to our station, FOX6 in Houston, were burned when a boiler exploded at a hotel, again, that's under construction in the downtown part of that city. According to the fire department in Houston, this all happened at a Holiday Inn that's under construction around 11 o'clock this morning, local time. The fire department says a boiler exploded, the top floor of the hotel collapsed, and there's different aerial images from Skyfox, the drones and helicopters they have at our station there in Houston, showing portions of the exterior wall buckling near the top of the building. So quite a frightening scene in the middle of downtown Houston right now. 5 people reportedly burned in the face. Officials do say everyone who was injured is believed to be a construction worker. And again, there were projects going on at the hotel. None of them involved of the injured have been identified at this point. Also, the extent of their injuries not known at this time either. But the public has been asked to avoid this area of downtown Houston because of a boiler explosion that also led, they believe, to the top floor of that Holiday Inn hotel to collapse. So while this camera is moving around a little bit, we are going to leave it up for you here just so you can get a clearer picture of what is happening. If there's an update from officials there in Houston, we'll try to bring that to you as well here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. In the meantime, though, we are going to do our little handoff. So Haley is standing by. She will handle the second hour of Wild with much more to come from Houston, from the Milwaukee area, and some interesting interviews we understand as well coming your way. So stick with the Live Desk. We'll leave this up for now, and then Haley will be with you in just a few moments. Thanks a lot for watching on this Thursday afternoon.
The Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is Haley taking over for Carl. It is 1:32 on your Thursday afternoon. In Milwaukee, it is a beautiful Thursday. Let's take a live look outside right now. Look at that. I mean, there's not even a cloud in the sky. It is just blue skies for miles. And it's unseasonably warm outside. We're actually on a record high watch, you guys. Take a look at this. Our previous record for tomorrow, 86 degrees. That was back in 2018. And we're slated right now to get to 85. So we could definitely get up there, get warm once again. And really, all weekend long, we have the potential to break some records. Saturday will be at 86. The record, 88. Sunday is probably the hardest chance to potentially break a record. You can see there the high is 87, and we're probably going to get up to 82, which is crazy to think about, 80s in October, because this is now October 2nd. It's supposed to be spooky season, supposed to be sweater weather. I would not recommend any sweaters whatsoever because it is certainly really nice out there. Take a look at your 6-day planner here. Like we said, today we have the chance for 80s. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all the chance for 80s. And then I feel like Monday and Tuesday decided to remember that it's fall, y'all. We have 72 for Monday and 66 for Tuesday. Yeah, some beautiful temperatures out there. Well, hey, we've got a lot of fun things lined up for you in this next hour. One thing we're going to talk about on this Thursday, a little bit of theater. Pretty soon we're going to be joined by the man playing Mrs. Doubtfire, which is happening right now at the Marcus Center. My producer and myself actually got to see this show on Tuesday. We cannot recommend it enough. It was so good. So yeah, stick around. That's just a few minutes away. We'll be able to do that interview live for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Otherwise, we are monitoring the feeds. I know we were talking to you about the hotel that saw an explosion down in Houston. This comes actually just the day after we saw an apartment partially collapse in the Bronx in New York. Thankfully, out of that situation, nobody was hurt. That was an incinerator chute that collapsed all the way from the top of that building to the ground. Thankfully, again, in that one, nobody hurt. We are monitoring, though, that situation out of Houston. Right now, we can see officials are speaking, and if we learn any new information, we'll certainly bring that to you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk as well. Otherwise, we can get you a lot of headlines out of D.C. We have seen a lot going on there. I can pull up here a live look at the White House, perhaps. Let's see if I can get ELC1 there for you. Of course, government shutdown. Carl was just talking about this. We are officially on day 2 of that government shutdown. Right now, the end is not in sight. I know Carl was telling you there is no plans to vote on that partial funding bill for the Senate, which is going to be required in order to fund the government and get things back up and running. So we are certainly monitoring that as well here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Well, hey, I'm going to just take a quick break as we continue to get everything set up for that interview, and hopefully we can do that when we get back. But we're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and I'll see you on the other side.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is Thursday, which I've decided means we should do a little Thursday theater talk. If you love alliteration, that was 3 T's in a row. I'm pretty proud of that one. Because we right now are actually being joined by Craig Allen Smith, who is starring in Mrs. Doubtfire the musical, which is currently at the Marcus Center right here in Milwaukee through Sunday. Craig, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I mean, for starters, what can we expect from Mrs. Doubtfire, the musical?
Oh, it's a wonderful show. It's got a lot of heart. It's very funny. It definitely pays tribute to the film, the iconic film back in 1993 with the amazing Robin Williams. So a lot of nostalgic touches, but a lot of fun musical numbers that nobody's ever heard. So it's a great time, fun for the whole family.
Yeah, absolutely. Just when you think you can't add anything more into the show, there may or may not even be a tap number. You guys, you do it all,
right?
And you take on the role of Daniel. I mean, AKA Mrs. Doubtfire. What is that like? That is quite the role to take on.
It is quite the role. It is one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had doing theater so far. So it's been a lot of fun to tackle this role.
And I'm curious, I mean, walk us through how you transform every single night from an everyday dad to an older Scottish female nanny.
Right. Well, basically if you're not familiar with the story, the father ends up getting a divorce from his wife and wants to be with his kids. So he makes that he does anything he can, and he finds out his wife's hiring a nanny. So he decides he's going to dress up and pretend to be a nanny so that he can spend time with his kids. And in the process, he meets with his brother, and they get him into prosthetics and costumes and everything. And there's actually a whole show happening behind the scenes that you don't see. I have 3 dressers who help me change in and out of costumes multiple times throughout the show. So it's quite a production.
Yeah, you said, we don't always see it off stage. Sometimes we do see it. Sometimes you are transforming on stage, and all I could think watching it was, how many calories do you think you burn a night? This is crazy. It's a workout.
It is quite a workout. We've started, rehearsals back in August. We opened in September, and I feel like I'm already down 20 pounds. So I can pretty much eat whatever I want while I'm doing this role, which is great.
There you go.
Especially in this city.
Yeah, I was gonna say, here in Milwaukee, we've got all sorts of goodies for you to absolutely eat and enjoy. I mean, what's the most challenging part of the role, and what's the most rewarding part of the role?
Yeah, that's a great question. The most challenging part, what I would say is actually, this is more of a theatrical thing. It's actually when I screw something up, to not focus on that, because then I will have missed 5 other things that are already happening. Mm-hmm. So it's a constant challenge to stay in the moment and stay within the structure of the show and telling the story. So, and then when I can do that, that actually is the most rewarding thing, because I know that I was able to hit all those different beats throughout the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's kind of just the joy of live theater. You know things might go wrong, but you got to keep going with it, be a professional. I feel like I'm pretty lucky. So I actually got to see the original first tour of Mrs. Doubtfire with Rob McClure, who I know originated that role back on, one second, I have my producer camera on, let me grab you there, who originated that role on Broadway and then toured on it. So I'm curious, how did he help maybe inspire your version of Daniel, but how do you also make the role your own?
That's a great question. I actually didn't know. I knew the movie, of course. I saw the movie like a bunch when I was a kid, and that character has always stayed with me. I've been doing the impression since I was 13, So I was not actually familiar with this show at all. And then when I found out that I was getting the role, I didn't want to watch Rob, but I know he's amazing. And he's an incredible, obviously, because he originated the role. But I went to the director and I was like, I didn't want to watch Rob's performance because I'm such a sponge and I will just end up imitating everything he does.
Yeah.
And the director was like, great, that's great. We can just, work on things and make it our own. And I know a lot of things, that Rob has done, I'm also doing. So it's just, one half dozen of the other. So.
Well, you both do an amazing job. And if I'm right, this is your first national tour?
Yes, first national tour.
Okay, so what is this experience like so far?
So far, it's been amazing. Got to see so many cool places already. We went to Boston. We're in Vermont. I know we're going down to Texas and Kentucky. So I'm just excited to eat all across America. That's my most exciting experience. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so how's Milwaukee treating you? I know you guys loaded in Monday. You've been here a few days.
Yeah, it's so great. It's such a beautiful city. I already went to the public market right across the street here. I already got some cheese curds.
Okay.
I think I'm doing it right.
You are absolutely doing it right. You're also a dad in real life. So does that kind of help you relate to Daniel? And also, how do you just balance being away from your family while you do this production?
Yeah, well, it's great. When I first got the role, my boys are 19 and they're starting college this year. So when I've been staying at home just to be dad for the past, like 20 years.
Yeah.
So when I got this role, I asked them, I was like, I got this. It's really cool. Can I go do this, while you're in school? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Go do it. So, we FaceTime, we play video games together on the road, but it's been so much fun. And then that aspect, it's really art imitating life imitating art. The show is so much of a parallel of actually what I've gone through. So it's a very personal experience for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is kind of a big question. It might be hard to answer. It's like probably asking you to pick a favorite child. But do you have a moment in the show that you're really excited for audiences to get to see?
I love the number Easy Peasy. I think it's so much fun. I think the audiences really enjoy it. It really highlights all the work the ensemble does, and it's just a fun, raucous number. So I think that and Make Me a Woman is also a great time. So those I look forward to, and then it's just so much fun to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I also feel like I want to mention, because one thing that I forget every time I see Mrs. Doubtfire, I go in and I know I'm going to laugh and really just have a fun time, as you're mentioning. But there is such an important and heartfelt message to this show as well. I feel like both times I've gotten choked up at the ending when you are responding to the viewer question. And I look at the audience and I see the different kids there who might have divorced parents, who might be wondering the same thing. So talk a lot, how important is that for you guys to not just have fun, but remind kids that families can look different and there's still so much love there?
Right. I think that's why this show is so important, because I don't think another show has really touched on that matter. And it clearly affects so many people's lives with, being from a divorced family. My kids are from a divorced family. So it's just, it really hits home the fact that no matter what happens in your life, those around you who love you so much are always going to be the ones that are there for you, and they can be your family. So you may not have a mom or a dad, but your best friend could be your family. So it's a really powerful story in that regard.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so we've been talking about how you have fun. So before we go, I have to ask you to do us a favor. You do so many impressions and impersonations in this show. Can you bring some to the Wisconsin Live Desk right now?
So I do Yoda, which is, help you, I will, yes. Smeagol from Lord of the Rings. Stupid hobbitses, once the precious. I do Mickey Mouse. Oh boy, isn't this a lot of fun? Well, my voice is a little tired.
No, you're crushing it.
Elmo, I do Elmo. So many.
There was one that you did that I did not see the first time around that I need you to do for us. Parker Posey.
Oh, yeah. If you're a fan of The White Lotus, at one point I'm talking and I go, divorce Piper now.
Oh, it is such a fun time. Have you been doing impersonations for a while? Is this a skill set you've always had?
Yeah, like I said, I'm like a sponge. So ever since I was a kid, I was, Pee Wee Herman came on. I was like, huh? Connect the dots, la 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 la. So those kind of things. Bugs Bunny, just anything to make people laugh. I love doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am so impressed. I think people truly will now know they have to go see Mrs. Doubtfire at the Marcus Center running through Sunday. Thanks so much for joining us, Craig, and for doing all those impersonations on the spot for us. We appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Enjoy the rest of your time in Milwaukee.
Thank you. We shall. Thank you.
It's a plan. Bye. All right, if you're just joining us, we were getting to talk right there with Craig Allen Smith. He is starring in Mrs. Doubtfire, the musical, which is at the Marcus Center, as I just mentioned, until Sunday. Now, this was my second time getting to see the show, but it was Delaney's first time getting to see the show. So we got to bring in Delaney. Delaney, what were your thoughts on Mrs. Doubtfire, the musical?
I thought it was really fun.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite part in the show?
Ooh, I don't know. I liked when they were transforming him into Mrs. Doubtfire. I thought that was a lot of fun.
It's always funny because the first time you see him take off Mrs. Doubtfire and return to Daniel, you whoa, you're caught off guard. And by the end of the show, you've seen him do it so many times. I'm telling you guys, he has to burn so many calories.
It was so impressive.
Yes, absolutely. Did you enjoy our little Wisconsin Live Desk field trip on Tuesday?
I did.
It was a good time. It was a good time. I'm trying to get to... Delaney is a theater lover, but I'm just going to really up your love for theater even more.
I'm excited about it.
I'm glad. I'm glad that Delaney is excited. We love to hear that. All right, we are going to just take a very quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and then we will bring some more news to you. I think we're going to talk sports. We've obviously got big Brewers news. We're still waiting to see who they are going to play, whether that be the Cubs or the San Diego Padres. You're not going to see the Packers play this week. It is their bye week, but we'll still run you through, I think, my fantasy league. I don't think I've even updated you guys on what happened last week. It's not good. That's just your little tease there. And then we'll also monitor the feeds. We'll see what we can bring you. So stay tuned. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. During the break, my producer and myself, we were looking at the feeds, seeing what news we could bring you here, and we did find this press conference that's happening right now out of Minneapolis, where healthcare workers there are pushing for an assault weapons ban. Of course, this does follow the tragic school shooting at Annunciation back in August that 2 students lost their life when a shooter shot through the windows of a mass. So we are just going to listen in here. It might be ending, but we'll see if we can catch anything here. All right, it does look like we potentially missed the bulk of that press conference here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but the good news is that we had a crew there from our sister station, so we'll absolutely get some more information for you out of that. But again, this is out of Minneapolis, where you can see many healthcare workers there in their scrubs and their white coats, and we know that they were pushing for that assault weapons ban in Minnesota. Again, this follows the tragic shooting back on August 27th of Annunciation Catholic School, when there was 2 students in mass that were killed. There was an 8-year-old Fletcher and a 10-year-old Harper, and then we know 14 other children and 3 older parishioners who were just there for mass. They were hurt in that shooting. Again, that shooter did die there, but we are monitoring this, and we'll get you some more information coming out of that. We're going to switch the tone here a little bit. We're going to talk sports. I know, obviously, in Wisconsin, we love the Packers. We love football. They are coming off of their tie back on Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. It's a big tie, too. They tied 40-40 in overtime. But they are resting this week. It's their bye week. It's actually the 5th week of the season. This is the earliest that you could have a bye week, and I know both the Packers and the Bears, they've got it. So you won't be able to cheer on the green and gold this weekend, but that just means that they will be back for week 6. Let's see what they're taking on. Week 6 will be the Bengals, which honestly will be a pretty easy game for them, considering the Bengals are without their quarterback. Joe Burrow, of course, is out for 3 months dealing with his turf toe injury, which you're thinking, Haley, I didn't know you knew so much about football. It's because of my fantasy league. You guys, this is my first year doing fantasy football, and I was so excited when I drafted my team. They gave me the grade A. I was the only one in my league who was given the A grade for how my draft went, and since then I have quickly discovered the pain that comes with fantasy. My very second overall draft pick was a running back who has been injured the entire season, Joe Mixon, who was supposed to come back this week. Now he's not estimated until October 20th. My quarterback, Joe Burrow, out for 3 months. And then this past week, I was really excited. I thought I was going to win it. We needed the Monday Night Football game because I have 2 Dolphins players on my team, one of them being Tyreek Hill, who is out for the season. I don't know if you guys saw this. This was a nasty injury on the football field where his knee was dislocated. It's one of those injuries where like everyone could tell right away that is very serious. He also tore his ACL, plenty of other ligaments, so he is most likely done for the season. So, I mean, thoughts out to him, but I had to redraft, and we'll see how this week goes. This does make me 2-2 overall in the season, and if you remember, if we win, Delaney and I are going to have a pizza party here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, which she didn't give me a reaction for. Oh, now we're getting a smile. There we go. You excited for the potential pizza party?
I am.
I have
I'm
a question.
hopeful you win.
When I text you each week my fantasy updates, are you like, stop texting me this, or do you feel like you're part of my team?
No, then I feel like I'm part of your team.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure because she got a text. I was like, my player was just carted off the field, and I was very upset. Because I did lose the game after that.
Yeah, no, I like when you give me the updates.
All right,
I feel
good.
like I'm a part of it.
I do have some players playing tonight, so I'll make sure and update you. Usually I wait until I know if I'm going to win or lose. But
oh, yeah.
I'll let you know.
Perfect.
Do you know who I'm rooting for today, though?
I do not.
Not football. Baseball.
Oh, yeah. The Cubs, of course.
The Cubs, of course. The Cubs obviously are in Chicago. We're going to take a live look, though, at AmFam. The Cubs are playing Game 3 of the Wild Card Series against the San Diego Padres because they lost yesterday. The San Diego Padres won. They actually shut out the Cubs, which now makes the series 1-1. So today is the determination of who the Brewers are going to play in the NLDS. So if you were wondering, why I'm talking about the Cubs, because you're a Brewers fan. That's why. You should care about the series, because it's all about who you will be playing come Saturday in the NLDS. The last 2 games of the Cubs started right about now at like 2:08, but this game got pushed back. So this will start at 4:08 now if you are waiting to see who the Brew Crew will be taking on in that NLDS round. Selfishly, I'm hoping that it's the Chicago Cubs. I'm obviously a big Cubs fan, but also I just think that that's so fun when you can have like that sense of rivalry with really your neighbors. I mean, think about how many fans can travel from Milwaukee to Chicago. So I can picture Wrigley being very much, 50-50, and think about how many Cubs fans can come up to AmFam. There'll be home field advantage, but will there be? Like, those are the things that are so exciting. And just here in our newsroom, there's a lot of Brewers fans, so it's always fun when you can be like, we won. So we have to win today, though, to have that level of camaraderie and rivalry, I should say, here in the newsroom. So the countdown is certainly on for the Cubs game tonight, this afternoon, 4:08. The countdown is also on for the Taylor Swift fans out there. Taylor Swift's new album, The Life of a Showgirl, is coming out tomorrow. So I know I'm not the biggest Swiftie. Wait, this is so fun. You can actually still see me through the tag board. I've never seen that happen before. My face is right there. But I know a lot of Taylor Swift fans are just so excited for this new album. I'm not a major Swiftie, but like I said, I know a lot of people are super excited for this. I think it drops at midnight. But she announced this album on her, I was going to say boyfriend, but it's her fiance, Travis Kelce's podcast a few months ago. And since then, a lot of people have been very excited. I know some movie theaters are actually doing kind of an album release party where I guess there'll be some special footage that they're going to be able to show on the screens that go with some of the songs. So it's going to be a very exciting time. I'll actually tomorrow, I will be on a plane. I'm going to New York, and my friend who I'm going with has already let me know that she will not be available to talk to me during the plane ride because she will be listening to that album. So happy Taylor Swift new album Eve to all of those who celebrate. I'm not the biggest Swiftie, but I did love The Summer I Turned Pretty, and that show heavily used a lot of Taylor songs, which made me appreciate her a little bit more. I mean, Out of the Woods, always been a good song. It's about Harry Styles. I love One Direction. And in that show, it's like the moment when the couple I liked finally got back together. So very rewarding situation out there. Well, hey, we are continuing to monitor feeds here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm with you for about 30 more minutes before our very own Kim Murphy is going to take over. Because if you're like, wait, I thought you ended at 2:30. If you've missed it, we are officially 3 hours of the Wisconsin Live Desk. We got to roll out that expansion on Monday. So from now on, you can expect 3 hours here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, just monitoring the feeds, bringing you some live interviews like we did with Mrs. Doubtfire, just making sure that you're in the know of all things news, especially here in Milwaukee and Wisconsin and our neighboring states, but sometimes even across the country and even across the world. You never know what we're going to bring you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But for now, we're just going to take another quick break. Delaney and I will look at the feeds, see what we can find, see what we can bring you, and we'll be right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back into the Wisconsin Live Desk this Thursday afternoon. I know I've said it already, but it is truly so beautiful outside. I want us to take another live look at some of our live cameras that we have throughout the city. This one is, of course, the Milwaukee Mitchell International Airport. Right now, there's no planes. Sometimes we get lucky, and we do catch a plane or two here on the rundown, or when they're leaving their gate, arriving to their gate. We'll leave it up for a little bit and see if we can catch any of those planes. But I know I was just talking about how I will not be here tomorrow. I'm going on a trip myself. Really excited going to New York City, which I would show you a live look of, but we don't have one right now, so that's why we're going to look at the airport. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm going with my sister and one of my friends, and I've talked about it a little bit here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but the main reason for the girls' trip is to see Hamilton, which if you're like, Haley, that came out 10 years ago, isn't that old news? It did come out 10 years ago, and for the 10-year celebration, the actor who originated the role of Aaron Burr, which is Leslie Odom Jr., he is back in that role for just a few weeks, so we bought tickets, and we cannot wait to get to see him. He sings by far my favorite songs, both in the first act and, oh, there's a plane taking off. We caught one. We did it, you guys. Delaney's very excited about that. In both the first act and the second act. And so to get to hear not just the songs live, which I've heard before, but to get to hear them sung by Leslie Odom Jr., I think will be a very cool experience. Just like it was cool to see that plane taken off there. I was telling Delaney, you know, it's interesting when we look at the airport right now, there are some federal workers who are showing up to work but who are not getting paid for it. That'd be both the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, as well as TSA workers. They are essentially considered essential federal workers, which means that they are not furloughed. They are expected to continue to report to work every day, but they will not get paid for it right now. Now, eventually, once the government is back open, once they figure out their short-term funding plan, they will receive the back pay. So all of those days that they came and they worked, they will get paid for. But obviously, you know, your expenses don't stop in the meantime. So it can get really stressful if you work for the federal government right now and you need to pay your rent, or you still need to buy your groceries, and you're expected to keep going to work, but you're not going to get that paycheck until the government is back open. And again, sometimes shutdowns last a day. Sometimes we've seen them last 30 plus days. So you never know how long you're expected to work without pay. And we know the last time we saw the government shut down under President Trump, that one lasted more than 30 days. And eventually, a lot of TSA workers started calling in sick. I remember some airports said they were dealing with double the call outs than normal, which if you're wondering if this will impact you, like most likely tomorrow when I go to the airport, I'm not going to notice too big of a difference. But if this were to keep going and I'm here in a month, yeah, you might be waiting longer for TSA. Obviously, fewer workers will lead to longer lines, and that process will slow down. So we know a lot of questions are out there about the government shutdown, and we are continuing to ask them. I know some people were wondering about the FEMA aid, which our very own Jason Calvey was working to get answers on. You can find his story from yesterday on the Fox Local app. We know people are wondering about food assistance program and if they'll continue to get that help. So a lot of questions. We're working to get you those answers. And of course, we're monitoring what's happening in DC, and we will absolutely let you know of any updates. For now, doesn't look like anything's going to happen today. The Senate is not expected to take up a vote. So we'll continue to monitor that. Another big story that we've been monitoring today is the synagogue attack that happened in the United Kingdom. This happened in England, kind of near Manchester. I know I was covering it this morning when I was doing breaking news for Wake Up. And what happened there was a man who is now dead. The suspect, police have confirmed he was shot and taken down by other officers when they arrived on scene. But this man arrived to a synagogue, and there was a crowd outside, and we're told that he rammed his car first, and then he got out and began stabbing some of the people who were there for Yom Kippur, which is one of the most important religious holidays for those who are Jewish. So what happened was, we know 2 people actually died in this attack. 4 others are seriously hurt. And the last big update coming out of this synagogue attack after we learned that the suspect was dead was that officials, they are officially calling this now a terrorist attack.
So obviously the UK, it's a little bit later over there. The updates have kind of started to slow down, but we've heard a lot of people speak out on this, especially, there's lives lost, which is always a tragedy when you hear about that. So we're continuing to see if we can learn anything new. I know earlier this morning we were reporting that the bomb squad was on scene, that they were investigating something. It does sound like that is because the suspect was wearing a vest that made it appear that he had explosives. Police have been able to now determine that he did not have a bomb. So there is an update coming out for you there in Manchester. Before I took over, I know Carl was also getting you guys to some breaking news in Houston, which I'm going to kind of show you this behind the scenes shot. You can see this is our sister station, FOX6 out of Houston. This is a reporter who just got done with her hit, so I'm not sure how much they're going to show us. They're obviously currently not doing a news hit for the newscast, so we can see that camera's kind of moving around. Looks like it might be going down. You can see, though, the caution tape. So this is what happened here. There was an explosion at a downtown Houston hotel, which was under construction. We know that the fire department says a boiler actually exploded and the top floor collapsed. It's a very scary situation. We're told that there are some people who were hurt in this, multiple people hurt, that were reportedly burned in the face. So this happened around 11 a.m. at a Holiday Inn that is under construction. That's what you're looking at right now. I know the camera was moving for a little bit, but they have settled it now, and you can see some of the construction equipment right there, because again, this was a Holiday Inn under construction. We've learned that 5 people were reportedly burned in the face, and officials are saying right now everyone who was injured is believed to be a construction worker. Right now, no one involved has been identified. We don't know the extent of those injuries. We are working to learn that. Our sister station who's on site is working to learn that. So we are monitoring all the information coming out of this. We haven't learned anything new since Carl originally brought this to you, but we do just want to keep that on your radar. Obviously a sad situation out of Houston. We hope everybody is okay, but we know multiple people hurt with burn injuries. So again, we're working to learn how severe those are, but obviously just a scary situation whenever you're dealing with an explosion of any sorts. I know I was saying earlier that yesterday we saw a partial building collapse in the Bronx in New York. Thankfully there no one was hurt, but that was still quite the sight to see. An incinerator shaft completely collapsed from the top of a 20-story building all the way down to the ground. We had aerial shots that just showed tons and tons of bricks all over the ground, and we saw firefighters crews who were searching through the rubble. They believed no one was hurt, but they wanted to verify that. Thankfully, they were able to confirm that no one was hurt out of that situation in the Bronx. So again, a lot to monitor today between Houston, between Manchester, between the government shutdown. It does look like potentially we might be getting ready to hear from some lawmakers. You can see this would be the steps of Congress, and there's some microphones there. So we will actually keep our eye on this feed that's coming in, see if we can learn anything coming out of DC as far as if we're going to hear from any senators or any other sort of lawmakers, House of Representatives, and see if we can get you any updates. But right now, certainly not seeing any compromises being made between Republicans and Democrats to get to the government being funded. I know Carl was already walking you through some of the things that Trump has done today as far as pulling funding from some states that voted for Kamala in the past presidential election as a way to threaten, encourage Democrats to all of a sudden, give in a little bit to what the Republicans are wanting, to compromise and to see this shutdown end. But so far, everybody is sticking to their points. They are not wanting to compromise. So we will continue to follow any and all updates that come out of DC, and we'll bring them to you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm going to take another quick break here, and we'll be back with some more news, whether that be here in Wisconsin, across the world, across the state, across the country. You never know where we're going to go, but we'll be here. So we'll be back in 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's Haley. I got another 15 minutes with you as we continue to bring you news that is happening live right now across the state and the country. This is definitely a behind-the-scenes shot, but this is what we were showing you before that had kind of the capital steps that we were assuming we were going to be able to hear from some lawmakers. We did confirm. We are waiting to hear from, of course, the U.S. Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader on the government shutdown, see if he has any updates for us this Thursday afternoon. You can see police currently actually just searching the media's equipment, making sure that everything is up to par, that everything is safe. So we're definitely not going to hear from him in the next few minutes as they get ready, but we will keep our eye on this feed and we'll bring you any updates here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Again, you probably are thinking, if it's not going to happen in the next 14 minutes, we're not going to get to watch it, Haley, but we are now 3 hours on the Wisconsin Live Desk, so I guarantee you Kim Murphy will keep her eye on that as well, and if it happens, she'll bring it to you here so that we can get any sort of updates on the U.S. government shutdown. I know a little bit earlier on in the Wisconsin Live Desk, we took this live look at AmFam. We were talking baseball. Again, we still don't know who the Brewers are playing, but we do know no matter what, they'll have at least one away game in the next series, the NLDS. The Brewers do have home field advantage. So that means that game 1 and 2, no matter what, doesn't matter who they're playing, they're going to be right there at AmFam. Then for game 3 and 4 is only on an if needed basis, those would be at the away team. So that would be either Chicago or San Diego. We need to figure out today who the Brewers will be playing. And then game 5, again, that's on an if-needed basis. That would be back here at AmFam. But if you're thinking, what am I going to do for, game 3 and game 4? I still want to be with members of the Brew Crew, even if they're not playing here at AmFam. There are several watch parties that you can attend. Check this out. So game 3 is Wednesday, October 8th. Don't know the time yet. So when it comes to playoffs, so many things are decided kind of on a TBD basis, especially when you don't even know the teams you're necessarily playing. So we will get you the time of that game as soon as it's announced. But no matter what, on Wednesday, you can go to a screening happening at Davidson Park, which Delaney and I drove by, and it's so pretty. It's a vibe. There's going to be local food trucks, vendors, tailgate games right here in Milwaukee. They also have several other places and things to watch the NLDS. This would be for game 4. Now again, game 4 is only on an if necessary as needed basis, but you could go to the Barrel Yard, you can go to Jordan's Big Ten Pub, Fox Harbor, Waterfront Warehouse. This says Howie's, which I think we're talking about the Howie's that's in La Crosse, Wisconsin, which if you guys don't know, I used to live in La Crosse. I started my career in La Crosse. Howie's is easily my top 2 restaurants of all of La Crosse. You have to go. My friends and I just split a ton of appetizers. If for whatever reason you're in La Crosse and you go to this watch party, highly recommend the cheesy bacon bombs. Those are probably one of the best things I've had in my life, and I will certainly plan a trip at some point to go back and be able to have that. That's going to be so good. All right, I think, Delaney, we should do question of the day. How do you feel?
Let's do it.
Okay, so today is National Name Your Car Day, which begs the question, Delaney, do you have a name for your car?
I do. My car's name is Sabrina.
And why did we name your car Sabrina?
I just liked it. I think I saw it on TikTok, and I was like, that's a really good idea.
Okay.
And I took it.
And you've always named your cars?
Yes.
So walk me through some of the past names.
So one of my cars' name was Kevin, after the bird from Up.
Yes.
And then I had one called Petunia, and my high school cross-country friends came up with that. So that's how that one stuck.
Cross country, you're a runner.
Yeah.
You guys, we learn so much about Delaney every day on the Wisconsin Live Desk. How long do you run in cross country? Like, are they 5Ks?
Yeah, 5Ks.
So do you still run 5Ks?
No.
You gave up that?
I gave that up after high school.
She said no more.
Yeah.
I only was doing that in high school. Okay. For National Name Your Car Day, my car also has a name. And I was telling you, I've always named my cars And I really like when they have double meanings. So my car right now, his name is Bo, which was named because there's this show on Amazon Prime I love called Maxton Hall. And the main guy, his name is James Beaufort. So I was like, oh, I'll just take that little piece of the character's last name. But I also got this car after my last car was totaled, and it was a whole incident, and just some of my friends and people in my life showed up big time, helped me all the steps of the way, and I was like, that was so beautiful the way they helped me. And I was like, oh, Bo, and then beautiful, B-A-U. So that's how we got Bo.
I like that.
Thank you. I did like my last car's name better, which was Maitland, which I named because I fell in love, like, on an obsessive level with Beetlejuice the musical. And there's Adam and Barbara Maitland, and then I could call him Mater, which had like a Cars reference.
I also like that one.
Thank you. Did you like the name before that one? Hudson?
Yeah.
Hudson was named because I love
Hudson's a good
Katy
name,
Perry.
too.
And Katie's real last name is Hudson, and then Hudson's also a car. You guys see, I always love that double meaning.
I get it. I like it.
Thank you, Delaney. All right, Delaney has prepared our true or false question for the day. True or false? The Guinness World Record for most people crammed in a smart car is 20? In a smart, I mean, first of all, crammed is the right word. There'd be no space for that many people. 20 people. I'm just trying to think about how you could even do that. Like, I guess if they were laying on top of each other, they could maybe get like... No, I'm going to go false.
This one is true.
20? Delaney,
Yeah,
how did they fit 20 people in a smart car?
20 cheerleaders from the Glendale cheerleading team were able to cram into the car. This was in Italy in 2014.
Okay, well, Italians do love small cars because they have Fiats there, right?
I think so.
So I think that, yeah, and they were cheerleaders. Okay, so there are probably some fit people. 20 of them. There's just no way that was...
I can't imagine.
There's no way, Delaney, that was comfortable.
Not at all.
Like, I don't know if that cheerleading team came out, like, more bonded as a team, or if they were like, get these people away from me. I never want to see them
They
again.
probably needed some space after that. I know I would.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. I love that. Well, from cars to airplanes, should we try and see if we can find another airplane at
Let's
Mitchell?
see.
Let's see. Let's take the airport camera again. Oh, it looked like we had a gust of wind there. I was very excited. I've never actually gotten to see a camera take off on this camera. And last time we were on it, a plane, take off on this camera. And we got to see that earlier on the Wisconsin Live Desk. So I don't know. Maybe we'll be lucky to see a plane land or take off. But right now, it's a little quiet. Okay. Well, we'll keep our eye on this feed. We'll also keep our eye on this feed coming out of D.C., where we continue to wait to hear from Hakeem Jeffries, the minority, of course, leader of the U.S. House of Representatives. You can see other people right there are doing some mic checks, so we're getting a little bit closer to when we could potentially hear from the representative. Again, we're expecting to hear an update, of course, on the government shutdown, a very big story that we have been following closely here at Fox 6, of course. Whenever the government shuts down, there's just such a myriad of questions that come to your head of how this could impact your day-to-day life, and maybe perhaps when it would start to impact your day-to-day life. Usually at the beginning, you don't notice too much of a change, but again, if this were to continue to go on for days and weeks and potentially months, then you usually will see it a little bit more presently. I know a lot of people who like state parks. That's another example of how this government shutdown could potentially impact you. I know I was talking earlier this week about Social Security. We had some questions. Would you continue to get your Social Security payments? And the answer to that is yes. So if you're somebody who gets Social Security, who is maybe worried about losing those while we wait to see if we can get a funding bill that passes the Senate and the House and ultimately signed by President Trump, the good news is your Social Security will certainly continue. But yeah, again, we are just keeping our eye here on this feed here out of DC on the steps there of Capitol Hill. If you're just joining us, we are waiting for the minority leader of the U.S. House of Representatives, that would be Hakeem Jeffries, to take to the podium to talk about the latest going on in that government shutdown. Otherwise, it is a little quiet today on the feeds, but we are certainly monitoring many different things, and we will continue to bring them to you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk as they happen. For now, I'm going to just take one last break, and then we'll figure out where we're going to go from there. And in 5 minutes, Kim Murphy's taking over, so a whole lot to look forward to. All right, we'll be back in 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are at 2:27, which means we are just a few minutes away from the legend, Kim Murphy, taking over. She actually is waiting in the wings. She just got here. Before she takes over, I do want to quickly take you back out to Houston. Obviously, this has been a developing story that we've been covering here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. What you're looking at right now is a downtown Houston hotel that is under construction that had an explosion earlier today. A boiler exploded and the entire top floor collapsed, and we know multiple people were actually hurt in this incident, reportedly burned in the face. Now, we have still a lot of questions that we're working to learn about what happened at this Holiday Inn that you're taking a live look at right now in Houston, but we know 5 people were reportedly burned in the face, and we're told that everybody who was hurt is believed to be a construction worker. We are working to learn their condition at this time and to learn who they are. No one has been identified just yet, so we've been keeping our eye on that. We've also been keeping our eye right here on the steps of obviously Capitol Hill, where in about 2 minutes, if he's on time, we're expecting to hear from Hakeem Jeffries. That is, of course, the minority leader of the U.S. House of Representatives, as we continue to see if we have any updates on the government shutdown and if a deal, a compromise is going to be reached anytime soon between Republicans and Democrats. So I'm going to go ahead and actually leave this feed up for you again. He's slated to talk at 2:30. Sometimes that's a little bit late, but we will bring that to you when that happens here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. And when we come back, it will be Kim Murphy joining you here. It's been a pleasure this Thursday afternoon, and she's got you from here.
That's why I was doing my own polls. I know, I saw it. Very good. One minute. 1 minute. Come on.
I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. This is day 2 of Donald Trump's shutdown, but it's day 256 of the chaos that the Trump presidency has unleashed on the American people. Republicans have shut the government down because they don't want to provide health care to working class Americans. House Democrats continue to be here, on duty. House Republicans are on vacation. We are ready, we are willing, we are able to sit down with anyone, anytime, any place, including the president and the vice president, to try to find a path forward to reopen the government, enact a spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people while at the same time addressing the Republican health care crisis. Unfortunately, Republicans have shown zero interest in even having a conversation. After the White House meeting, on Monday, we've seen behavior by the president that is unserious and unhinged. And Leader Schumer and myself haven't gotten a single phone call as it relates to a follow-up conversation. We're ready to have that conversation, but we need credible partners on the other side of the aisle. And Donald Trump and Republicans have made clear they wanted to shut down the government. They want to inflict pain on the American people. They continue to engage in their retribution efforts, and they have zero interest, zero, in providing high-quality, affordable, and accessible care to everyday Americans. Questions?
Leader Jeffries, Speaker Johnson says he's got nothing to negotiate with you over. Will you accept anything less than a permanent extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies?
The legislation that House Democrats and Senate Democrats have introduced together relates to a permanent extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits for working class Americans. Understand, in the Republican One Big Ugly Bill, where they enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, stole food from the mouths of hungry children, hungry seniors, and hungry veterans, and all of this was done so that they could provide massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors. And you know what? Those massive tax breaks were made permanent. Why in the world should everyday Americans, working class Americans, hardworking American taxpayers accept anything less? I mean, literally this year, House Republicans, Senate Republicans, and Donald Trump enacted massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors, for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, all to subsidize the lifestyles of the rich and shameless. And this was done permanently, and now they want the American people, not us, Democrats, the American people to accept anything less than a permanent extension of tax credits that make their health care affordable. Understand this, over the last few days and over the next few days, what you're going to see is more than 20 million Americans experience dramatically increased health care premiums, copays, and deductibles because of the Republican unwillingness to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. They're not even willing to extend it for multiple years, let alone do what Republicans just did for billionaire donors, which is to extend the billionaire tax breaks permanently. Of course, the American people should accept nothing less.
Leader Jeffries.
Yep.
Thank you. Good afternoon. You said yesterday this was not about 2026. Are you concerned in any way about the political ramifications that voters might blame your side down the road?
The American people are crystal clear on who shut down the government. Crystal clear. They know it was Donald Trump and Republicans for a wide variety of reasons. Republicans have repeatedly shut the government down throughout the years. And does any reasonable person think that Donald Trump or J.D. Vance or Mike Johnson or Senate Republicans are behaving like individuals who actually want to reopen the government? I mean, House Republicans literally are on vacation right now, scattered throughout the country and the world. Democrats have been here all week. We want to have a bipartisan discussion, use common sense to reopen the government, pass a spending agreement that makes life better for the American people, particularly as it relates to their high cost of living. Understand something, Chad. Donald Trump and Republicans spent all of last year promising that they were going to lower the high cost of living. They also spent all of last year running away from Project 2025, acting like Project 2025 didn't exist. But what have they been doing this year?
Good afternoon and welcome to the third hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. Yeah, we've expanded. Hour 3 now. You've been listening to Hakeem Jeffries from the U.S. House of Representatives, the minority leader, talk about this is day 2 of the government shutdown. The sticking point right now is health care. Democrats are pushing for subsidies to be continued. They were wiped out in the big, beautiful bill, the president's signature act, and that seems to be what is holding up any kind of negotiation to reopen the government. Republicans floating the idea of passing a funding bill for 7 weeks to temporarily fund the government and then come back to the issue of health care. But Democrats fear that that talk will never happen. So you're listening to Hakeem Jeffries give his thoughts on what is happening. Now, no vote is expected until Friday because of the Jewish holiday, Yom Kippur. So Friday is the earliest. Tomorrow, day 3, is when we could have possibly another vote. We're going to take a break, reset, and let you know what's going on right now in Milwaukee. The woman who is accused with second-degree 2 counts of homicide, intoxicated use of a vehicle in the fatal crash that killed 2 Marquette University lacrosse students is in court at this hour for her preliminary hearing. We're going to get an update on that coming up after the break, but you're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk, Hour 3.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk on this Thursday. Can you believe it's the 2nd of October? I know that's a crutch. We always say, broadcasters, can you believe it's the first day of August? Can you believe it's... I know. I'm going to try to get over that. Turning to more serious news now. Just wrapping up this afternoon, the woman who is charged with the deaths of 2 Marquette lacrosse students, accident that happened September 5th. This is Amandria Bruner, charged in that deadly crash that killed 2 Marquette University lacrosse students. Her preliminary hearing just wrapped up. We will get more information from the courtroom. We were not able to bring it to you live. The judge imposing some restrictions there. We do have a camera in the courtroom, but we were unable to actually stream it live because of restrictions that were imposed by the judge in this case. But as soon as we get details out of the courtroom on what happened in today's proceeding, we will bring it to you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We thank you so much for joining us as we continue to keep you updated on things that are happening both locally and things that are happening nationally. Hakeem Jeffries, the U.S. representative and House Minority Leader, just wrapped up a news conference there talking about day 2 of the government shutdown. No vote, no action. It will happen today because of the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur. The earliest that a vote will happen is tomorrow. But again, it does not seem like there is going to be much movement unless something happens. Calls, I'm sure, are being made right now, even though the government is not in session. Democrats say that President Trump needs to be a part of these discussions. The sticking point, Medicare benefits and the extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies. Democrats are fearful that if a temporary funding bill is passed for 7 weeks to keep the government open, that these talks they'll not come back to that. And so they are holding fast on demanding that that be part of the discussions. They say as of yet, there's been no outreach from across the aisle. They've not heard from Republicans or the president expressing any kind of willingness to talk about this and to move forward. So we will continue to update you on what is happening right now. I'm going to take you to the airport. So one of the things when we talk about, try to break down what effect a government shutdown will have on you, one of the things that comes to mind is the airport, federal TSA agents. Essential services will continue. Those workers are still on the job even though they are not getting paid. So you really, in the short term, should not see effects at the airports, TSA screening points, things like that. But the concern is as this goes on, if this does go on, that we will begin to see those kinds of effects. So I was in the grocery store yesterday picking up a few things, and the person who was helping me said, "What do you think of this government shutdown?" So even though she is not a federal worker, it is a concern when you hear that the government is shut down and you start to think of not only yourself, but many people in your life, of people who maybe receive Social Security benefits. What does this mean for them? Veterans who receive services, what does this mean to them? Maybe even your 401k, you're wondering if this uncertainty with the government will have some kind of effect on your 401k. So you don't have to be a federal worker for this to be something that you are concerned about, and we're certainly hearing that from people, that they are concerned when you hear that the federal government is shut down, and that brings flashbacks to President Trump's first presidency when there was a shutdown, and that lasted until January. So hopefully that is not the case in this situation. Let's turn now to some other news, of course. How about those Brewers? We are so excited that we are in the postseason. So many things are lining up for us that seem reminiscent of the season when we actually won the World Series. So there's a lot that is happening. The Brewers, their fans, they are getting ready for the first game, which isn't until Saturday. But there is a way for you to cheer on the Brewers. There is a pep rally that is happening tomorrow. So if you are interested in showing up for that, it is going to be a blast. Excuse me. There's a post. Is there a pep rally coming up? Delaney, help me out. Is there a pep rally happening tomorrow?
I'm not sure. Let me look at that.
Okay. maybe I feel like there should be a pep rally coming up tomorrow. I do know that we are going to have an extended version of the Wisconsin Live Desk tomorrow. Join me and Sam Kramer from 2:30 to 4. We're going to cover everything Brewers. We're going to take you all the way back to spring training when Ben Handelman went out west to Arizona to talk about the upcoming season. It started off on an emotional note, of course, with the passing of Bob Uecker. He captured all of that in his reporting. So we're going to take you to the beginning of how we got here and then everything that's happened, the wonderful ride that it's been, including that pocket pancake breakfast that happened last week, which was just a blast. We're going to take a break and recombobulate. When I say that, I have to take the airport because they have the recombobulation chamber. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk. Back in a moment.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
It's day 2 of the government shutdown. This is a live look at the Capitol. Nothing is happening today. The first vote will be tomorrow. Nothing is in session because of the Jewish holiday today, Yom Kippur. So we wait to find out what is next. And you heard just a couple moments ago from House Democrats saying that they've not heard anything from the Republican side. No intentions of, they believe, of Republicans trying to discuss, move this process forward. So we watch and we wait along with you. Some local news, excuse me. A classic Milwaukee restaurant, AJ Baumer's, has announced their final week is November 17th through the 20th. AJ Baumer's right there on the corner with the big chair, voted many times best burger place, is closing. And so that is sad news for the landscape downtown Milwaukee. It's a popular spot. I can remember being staked out a kitty corner to AJ Baumer's when the Bucks won the championship and the parade coming past AJ Baumer's, and just a really an iconic part of downtown Milwaukee. AJ Baumer's announcing their final week. It's going to happen in November 17th through the 20th, and they have all sorts of things planned. So join them and, you know, say goodbye and celebrate a Milwaukee institution. And speaking of that, The creator of I Closed Wolski's, the sticker that you see everywhere, and I do mean everywhere, has passed away. Wolski's, the family, sharing that their favorite bartender passed away. He is the creator of the sticker I Closed Wolski's. Of course, you got that sticker if you indeed stuck around to close Wolski's bar. You can find those stickers. They've been spotted overseas on vehicles. It just really is a most Milwaukee thing to do. And so sad news, but he will be in the hearts of Milwaukeeans and folks everywhere. Mike Bondar, he came up with the idea of I Closed Wolski's Bar. And you got that sticker if you actually stuck around and closed Wolski's. The sticker originated in the 1970s, and it was a joke that actually became a global symbol of Milwaukee's bar culture. His family says the bar will remain open, and Mike's spirit will continue to shape the tavern's future. But this is also not just a Milwaukee institution, but a Milwaukee bar for generations. Same family has run that bar. So get a sticker, I Closed Wolski's. It's one of the things that you must do if you are a Milwaukeean, or if you're bringing someone into town and you're like, what's the most Milwaukeean thing to do? Well, that is to go to Wolski's. So another headline that we're following, this is actually being reported by the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Run Tommy Run. Could former Wisconsin governor, former health secretary Tommy Thompson be considering throwing his hat into the ring to run for Wisconsin governor? Right now, the Democratic side is flooded with candidates. I believe the last count is 6 people who have thrown in their hat on the Democratic side. There are now 2 people remaining. There were 3 candidates. One dropped out, Mike Berrien, last week. So now there are just 2 Republicans. And so chatter is, could Tommy Thompson be considering a run? We've also heard chatter like that concerning former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. No indication from his camp that he's even considering that, but the governor's race is still a year away, but it's important. We know that Wisconsin, we continue to say that we're a swing state. We've just been a toss-up. The legislature is Republican, the governorship is Democrat, so we are just we're unpredictable. We're that wild card, so we can expect to see. And then the Supreme Court is liberal, so there's so many dynamics when we talk about the 3 branches of government. That is why so much attention is on Wisconsin when we talk about the statewide races. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk for this Thursday. We're going to take a quick break, and as we do, let's give you another shot of the Brewers. Are you supporting the crew? Do you have your T-shirt? Do you have your banners? Are you planning a party? There are some watch parties that are happening. We'll give you the rundown on that coming up right after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
How about those Brewers? We are getting ready for October baseball. Pretty exciting. This is our year. Like, we've been saying that in our newsroom for a couple of weeks. And then something will happen, and it's like, okay, this isn't our year. But then we're up. This is our year. So we're going to stay up. This is our year. The first game is happening Saturday, October 4th. We still don't know who the Brewers are going to be playing. The winner of the Chicago Cubs, San Diego Padres wild card series will determine who we play, but we know we're playing at home, and that game is 1:08. Take that back. There's a lot of different variables. It could be at 1:08 or it could be 8:08, depending on what happens with the New York Yankees game and the Boston Red Sox game. So what I can confirm is that the game is happening Saturday. It's happening at AmFam Field. So maybe you don't have tickets to go to the game. No worries. We got you covered. There are some NLDS watch parties. Lighting Kugel's Barrel Yard, Jordan's Big Ten Pub, Fox Harbor, Waterfront Warehouse, and Howie's on La Crosse. So if all around the state there are places for you to take in the Brewers, get the fever, catch the fever, and let's cheer on our Milwaukee Brewers. So we're also following news that is coming up tomorrow. Seems like this trial, this case has gone on forever. We're talking about the Sean Diddy Combs case. He is set to be sentenced tomorrow. Now, there's been some movement in this case before. He was found guilty on 2 prostitution-related charges in July. He has been in jail now for almost a year. And his team is asking that he only receive 14 months. The prosecution, meanwhile, is asking for 11 years at the least. The 2 charges that he is convicted on each carry 10 years as a maximum sentence, I believe. So the prosecution wants at least 11 years, and we'll find out what happens to Sean Diddy Combs tomorrow. But the victims in this case who testified, including Cassie Ventura, have submitted a letter to the judge asking for more time for him, at least 11 years, because they say, quite frankly, they fear for their safety. They fear that he is going to seek retribution. And so they are asking that he stay in jail for at least 11 years. Now, if he is sentenced to 14 months, that means most of his time is already served and he could be out by the end of the year. So as we get more information on the Sean Diddy Combs case, the sentencing, be sure to join us. May not have it tomorrow on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but we'll have it on our newscasts. You can believe that, on FOX6 News starting at 4, because what's going on tomorrow at this time on the Wisconsin Live Desk? We're blowing out everything. We're doing a special Brewers Wild Desk. So we are going to talk about everything Brewers. We're going to take you back to spring training in Arizona when that seems so long ago, when everything was fresh and new and it was anyone's game. Everyone was a winner at that point. It's been a long season, but not only have we made it to the postseason, we are the winningest team in baseball this season. We've won the most. Smart way to say that. So lots of Brewers fever. I'm kind of channeling that today already in my Brewers Gold. So stay tuned for more information on that. The other thing we want to talk about that's happening tonight, midnight, Taylor Swift, The Life of a Showgirl, drops. It's 12 a.m. Eastern time, so that's 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. our time. And so Swifties, they are going crazy about this. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, download it. There are 12 songs on this. Now, Taylor has been talking a little bit about this. So we knew the title. We kind of saw some of the title art. We know that she's got a special deal with Target, so there are going to be some different versions of the art that's going to be released. We know that there are 12 songs, and 2 that caught my eye. 1, Canceled, is the name of one of those songs. So what is she talking about? Is she talking about canceled culture? Does she feel that she's been canceled? Is she canceling someone else? Questions. Because you know, a Taylor Swift album isn't just the music, it's all the Easter eggs. She's clever. I mean, you may not be a fan, but you have to give it to her. Not only is she a brilliant marketer, but she's devastating with that pen. And so it's just, you have to listen. So the other one is Ruin the Friendship. So we got word of that title a couple weeks ago. So everyone's speculating, is this about her friendship with Blake Lively in light of there was some dust up that Blake Lively brought Taylor Swift into her lawsuit, Lively's lawsuit against the director of This Ends With Us. You know, if you've been following that, you know if you know. But anyway, apparently they're not friends, or their friendship has taken a cooling off, is how they're saying it. So, Ruin the Friendship. Is this going to be about Blake Lively? If I were a betting person, I'm going to say totes. So listen for that. That is happening 11 p.m. our time. And I know people who will be with their phones, and the minute that it drops, they will be downloading it. They will have listened to the whole CD 10 times by 11:05, and already there'll be social media just exploding on, did you hear this? She said this. What about this lyric? And decoding everything that is in that. So Life of a Showgirl drops right now. We're going to go to New York for a news conference that is happening right now with former Governor Mario Cuomo. Let's see if we can get you there.
That had 7 people, only 2 appointed by the mayor, 5 by the borough president, so the mayor had a minority, and then you had 32 local school boards with 9 elected members, and they were elected from the local community by the local politicians, local unions, etc. That's why mayoral control, so you have accountability. He also said he would roll back the special...
Pardon my misspeak. Andrew Cuomo. Mario Cuomo was his father, also the governor, but this is Andrew Cuomo. Let's listen.
One program that allows extraordinary students to actually excel. You take away gifted and talented program, the one possibility that your child might get a really first-class education in public schools goes with it. And the way the program works is there's a test in kindergarten, there's a test in 3rd grade. He flip-flopped with the times. He said he would do away with it, then he said he wouldn't do away with it. He's somewhere in the middle now, that he would do away with the kindergarten program but not the 3rd grade program.
And Andrew Cuomo is running for mayor of New York City as an independent. He right now is vying for that. The incumbent, Mayor Eric Adams, decided to drop out of the race in late September. So this is Cuomo speaking about some of the things that he is passionate about, and we're talking about right now education. So let's listen in.
Where they believe there are better school systems. Ending the gifted and talented is exactly wrong. And I would do the exact opposite. I would expand gifted and talented and expand what they call the specialized high schools. There are 9 specialized high schools, Stuyvesant, Bronx High School of Science. He, by the way, went to Bronx High School of Science. But these were great high schools where you could get an education that is as good as anywhere in the city. I want to double the number of specialized high schools, and from 9 to 18, because we want people who want extraordinary education staying in New York. Last point, Donald Trump is in the middle of a shutdown. In the middle of the shutdown, he has cut off funding for New York, for two major transportation projects, which are tunnels that go across the Hudson River, and tried to cut $187 million in counterterrorism funding. This is an overextension of the federal government.
So you're listening to New York mayoral candidate Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo, of course, was governor of New York, resigning in August of 2021 after multiple scandals, including one of he was accused of sexual harassment, and also really the public critical of his administration's handling of the COVID-19 crisis, specifically with patients in nursing homes. And as you remember, and we know that you do, that New York was pretty much the epicenter of COVID-19. And so there was a lot that was going on in 2021. And as those governments scrambled to handle this unknown virus, this coronavirus, the toll was heavy in nursing homes in New York. We're going to take a break. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
A lot of folks are still recovering from the August floods, and they are desperate, waiting for FEMA to start doling out help funds. And so there is a reminder FEMA just issued today: read your FEMA letter carefully. The information, pardon me as I put on my glasses here, so I want to make sure that I share everything. Make sure that none of your documents are missing. So make sure that you have proof of insurance coverage, settlement of insurance claims or denial letters from your provider, proof of your identity, proof that you lived in the property, proof of ownership, and proof that the damaged property was your primary residence at the time of the disaster. For more information, go to FEMA.gov/letter. You can appeal if FEMA has denied, if you've already received denial from that. If you disagree with that, you can submit an appeal letter and documents supporting your claim, such as a contractor's estimate for your home repairs. You have 60 days from the date of your letter. I know it is a lot, and if you're someone who does not spend a lot of time on the computer, this can be devastating. So call 211. You can find out. There have been some workshops that have been set up in Milwaukee and Jefferson County, I believe, to help folks to come on out. There have been people on the ground to help you figure out what kind of documents you're missing, what you need to provide. And so if you have any questions, a good place to start for information. If you don't have access to a computer, or if you're listening to this and you know that someone does need help and they don't have access to a computer, call 211, and that's a good way to get guidance on how you go about filing your FEMA claim and what things that you need to have. But proof of insurance, make sure you have that, proof of your identity, proof of a settlement. So maybe you got a settlement from your insurer, but it's far below what you need to restore what was damaged. You can still apply for funds, but FEMA needs to know what you've received so far. So you've got to have that documentation. You need to have proof that you actually live there, that this isn't a rental property, because that is, I would imagine, second tier to those who live in right now properties that really are not in the best of conditions. You have to have proof of ownership and proof that the damaged property was your primary residence at the time of the disaster. You can visit FEMA.gov/letter for more information on that. And now we're going to take you to something kind of weird. There was a ceremony in Ohio that was happening for the creator of, was it Twilight, Delaney? Or the Twilight Zone?
The Twilight Zone.
Okay, let's listen in. Who knew?
Brad and I grew up here in Yellow Springs in the 1950s and early 1960s. We went to school with a number of
okay, let me just interject here. Yellow Springs, weird. All makes sense. I can say that because I lived in Dayton, Ohio for about 2.5 years. That was one of my reporting stints. Dave Chappelle also has property there, so you just not your normal place. I'll say that. So let's listen in. The creator of Twilight Zone apparently is from Yellow Springs and receiving a historical marker. This is Mike DeWine, I think, former governor of Ohio. Let's listen in.
All these young people coming back from the war, all in a hurry to get on with their lives. And it was, I'm sure, a very invigorating place to be. Fran and I had that, as we were growing up, of course, we watched The Twilight Zone, and probably not designed by Rod Serling as a kids show, but all the kids watched it. And we all would go to school the next day and talk about it. And of course, that was the days when there was 3 stations, and everybody was sort of tuned into the Twilight Zone, and the next day would have a good conversation about that. I remember watching with my parents. Of course, this was in the days of live network TV, kind of hard thing to imagine today. But watching the Requiem for a Heavyweight that Rod wrote, and then later on, when that was turned into a movie, going to the Little Art Theater and watching it in the Little Art Theater. I think it's appropriate that we are here on Antioch's campus for this plaque to be dedicated. We call Rod an Ohioan. We claim him. We hope we're able to do that, Ann, because of this period of time, his great creativity, informative period of time that he was in Ohio, and not just on the Antioch campus, but of course writing scripts for live radio in Cincinnati and in Dayton. So we're very, very proud to claim him as an Ohioan. A few years ago, 2 of my cousins came to the campus and went to the archives here, and had the chance to.
You're listening to current Governor Mike DeWine, governor since 2019, but don't quote me on that. Current governor, though. A marker is right now being dedicated to honor the creator of the Twilight Zone, Rod Serling. Remember, imagine something weird happened in Detroit, that guy. He was in black and white. Can't believe, because Twilight Zone was freaky. It was Black Mirror, if you've watched that series on Netflix, but the Black Mirror of that time, just really kind of little short stories, independent. You had all your guest stars with, appear in these episodes, and it just really got you thinking. But Rod Serling spent time on Antioch College's campus in Yellow Springs, which is right outside of Dayton, Ohio. And other notable alum from Antioch College include Coretta Scott King, who graduated 1 year after Serling in 1951. So let's listen in as Governor DeWine speaks more about the creator of the Twilight Zone.
Times he would have seminars that were taking place, and he would actually have the students just come to his house and come to their house, and my grandmother would fix tea, and they would sit around. And I only wish we could have something out of the Twilight Zone, and we could actually maybe time travel and go back and listen to that conversation. I mean, it looks like Rod has a paper there he's presenting or talking about, and I would love to have been able to have heard that. So it's just, we're just delighted. I'm delighted as someone who grew up in Yellow Springs, but also, frankly, as governor of the state of Ohio, to be here for this unveiling of the plaque. It's very, very appropriate. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it can remind us of the creativity and all of what Rod Serling did. Highly talented individual who we obviously lost much too soon. But it's appropriate to be here, and this is, I think, a very, very happy day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor. I love that story. That was fantastic. Please help me, join me in welcoming our next special guest, who told me that I could introduce her as Mayor Pam, because everyone knows her. So welcome, Mayor Pam.
Trying to gently avoid the bees. Thank you for that introduction, and it is indeed, Governor, it's a joyful day here, and we are celebrating, so it couldn't be any nicer. And what does a mayor do when a mayor comes out on an occasion like this? He or she gives a proclamation. Therefore, we're going to find out what's being proclaimed. And as I read this, I would like you to see if you can pick up a few more fun facts about Rod Serling that you didn't know. Therefore, and for your benefit, I'll knock out some of the whereases, but, pretend they're there. Whereas, today we celebrate the work and memory of Rod Serling, Antioch class of 1950, and one of the most influential writer-producers in the history of television. And whereas it was in Ohio, 1960, Scott? 50, right? Whereas it was in Ohio that Rod Serling discovered and developed the writing abilities that would lead to the groundbreaking TV series, The Twilight Zone. As we stand here today, it's important that we recognize the significance of where we are placing this marker on Antioch's college campus in the village of Yellow Springs. And whereas after military service in World War II, Rod Serling enrolled at Antioch College on the GI Bill and began studying literature when he found that writing helped him cope with his wartime experiences. Antioch College afforded him the opportunity to publish his works in its student literary magazine, to work in writing and broadcasting through its cooperative education program, as well as running its campus radio station. And whereas he reconnected with Antioch when he returned briefly in 1962 as a writer in residence to teach. Beyond the village and Yellow Spring and Antioch College, Serling has a deep impact on the world through his ability to conceal social commentary from CBS network censors within the scripts of his stories in The Twilight Zone. His writing was marked with a profound understanding of human nature and a strong sense of social justice, frequently addressing such issues and themes as prejudice.
So on that note, I thought I'd look up some episodes, the synopsis of some of those episodes. And I remember, if you ever watched MeTV, The Odd Couple, Jack Klugman, you remember him from The Odd Couple, but I remember him on The Twilight Zone like a lot of times. And this was all black and white, so no, I'm not that old. But I did see the reruns. So in this one Twilight Zone episode, called In Praise of Pip, the synopsis says, it's just another thankless day of conning and boozing for a bookie, Max Phillips. When he gets the worst news of his life, his son Pip lies near death in a place called South Vietnam. Frustrated, angry, and remorseful for years of empty promises to his son, Max decides to reach out and help a luckless young beggar. But all his compassion gets him is a bullet in the chest. Seriously wounded, Max Phillips comes face to face with his last chance to do something meaningful for his son, and this time there's no conning, there's no turning back, because Max Phillips has just entered the Twilight Zone. Okay, not my best Rod Sterling, but you get it. You know, it was very, as you heard from the speaker there, he was a brilliant writer, but also managed to weave in social commentary about what was going on, the war in Vietnam and other things, prejudice and the civil rights movement. And so the show appeared on CBS, ran for 5 seasons, very influential in American culture and American television. So today, Rod Serling is getting a historical marker in Yellow Springs, Antioch College, where he attended. Let's listen to a few more of those speakers.
Markers around the state, each telling a unique piece of Ohio's history. Your marker, honoring Rod Serling, now joins the other state markers in telling the story of Ohio. You are to be commended for taking the initiative to identify this important historical aspect of your community. The marker we are dedicating today was made possible through the vision, dedication, and hard work of a number of people, and I'd like to thank some of them today. The William G. Pomeroy Foundation, the Ohioana Library Association, and Antioch College. These organizations came together around an important Ohio story and dreamed of a way to memorialize that story in their community. They researched and submitted the initial application, putting together the funding for the purchase and installation of the marker, and then all of the unforeseen jobs that are seen today in this ceremony. The Ohio History Connection's role was to guide and advise them.
So we've heard a little bit about that. Again, historical marker being placed in Ohio, Antioch College, for the creator, the writer of Twilight Zone, which is still freaky today. So that is amazing when something holds up decades. It still has implications and really makes you think. And I think it was the precursor for Black Mirror. That's another one. That whole series on Netflix deals with technology and just kind of a warning. We're talking about AI now, but for seasons, that's kind of been woven into a lot of the Black Mirror episodes, and virtual reality and distorted reality. That was Twilight Zone, so that's where the inspiration, or perhaps one of the inspirations for that. We have been following a number of stories today. The government shutdown continues to be one of them. The impacts there, so far so good. The airport is not one of those places where you have to worry right now. TSA is functioning, people are on the job. And look, bonus, we've got a plane. That doesn't happen too often. That is a good sign. And you know what I'm gonna say that's a good sign for? The Milwaukee Brewers, who have their first game Saturday. We know it's going to be at AmFam Field. We don't yet know the time or who they're playing. Some other games have to be decided for that to happen. But as soon as we find out, we'll have that for you on our Fox 6 News or right here on the Fox Local app. Also, AJ Bombers, which I believe does have a venue at AmFam, they've announced that they are closing their location downtown. Their final week is November 17th through the 20th. So be sure to stop down there to you know, celebrate a Milwaukee institution, and hopefully something just as great will show up there, because it really is prime real estate for Wisconsin. And then we have to tell you about this. The creator of the I Closed Wolski's sticker has died. Mike Bondar, part of the family, fourth generation, familiar bartender, always there at closing time, and said, hey, you know what, this would be fun. Let's create a sticker. I Close Wolski's, and you can see that sticker pretty much all over the place, all over the world. And so fond memories, and the family says, you know, his spirit will stay there and Wolski's will not close. The other thing, big news for all of you Swifties out there, guess what? T-Swift is back. The Life of a Showgirl drops tonight at 11 our time, 12 Eastern at midnight. 12 tracks, we know, this little album. It's going to be released at Target with some special artwork, but there's 2 tracks that I'm going to listen for. Canceled and Ruin the Friendship. She always drops some Easter eggs there. And second hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk, Haley told you that she is leaving this place. She is going to be on a plane. She is going to New York, New York. She is going to see Hamilton, girls trip with a friend and her sister. They're going to see Hamilton. It's the 10th anniversary of the show, and Leslie Odom is returning just for this 10th anniversary. He originated the role on Broadway with Lin-Manuel Miranda, and Leslie Odom is returning in his role. So it's going to be an awesome weekend for Haley, and we hope that she has a safe trip and safe travels in New York and enjoys Hamilton. Still a great soundtrack. If you've not listened to it, you can also watch it on Disney Plus. And let's see, always want to leave you with a little bit more information. Right now, you're taking a look at some traffic. It is a bear out there, but that's nothing. This weekend, we are in for another 54-hour closure. We'll have much more information on that. But we thank you for joining us on the Wisconsin Live Desk for Hour 3. Have a good one.
Welcome to another edition of the ISOBAR, the highs and lows of meteorology, as we continue to take a look around the Great Lakes. I am Rob Haswell, Chief Meteorologist in Milwaukee, and I'm joined by the Chiefs of the Great Lakes. We have Emily down the road in Chicago and Rich over in Detroit. I think that might be a slightly elevated title for us, but who's going to contest it, right, guys?
Right, I like it.
That's right. We'll roll with it. Lately, we're all probably in a giddy mood and happy to roll with just about anything because we've had like a bonus summer. Most of my viewers have been calling it, fake fall or summer 2.0, and we're all pretty much in that same boat. How's Chicago doing?
Chicago's been almost too nice, right? It makes everybody wonder, like, what's around the corner for us? Because, I mean, it has been the most beautiful fall in the sense that it's been feeling like summer. However, if you think way back to the spring, it really took a while to get going. So I think a lot of people felt slighted through April and May until we hit June, and then it just turned hot. So we're kind of tacking it on at the end, which is nice. So I feel like most people I feel are pretty excited about it, but I mean, we've had some pretty hot days recently. In the last week, we've had a couple days, not at O'Hare necessarily hitting 90 degrees, but a lot of our suburbs have been in the low 90s. And it's not entirely unheard of this time of the year, but it's not common because our average high is now right around 69, 70 degrees. So we're running about 20 degrees above average the last few days.
Yeah, which has been fantastic for a lot of folks. Most people like this kind of weather, but it is technically fall. Nature needs to kind of reset, and there's certain things that need to be triggered. We're also running a very low on the precipitation range. And Rich, the reason I bring that up is that most of Michigan is in drought.
Yes, that's really the only complaint I've heard in the last 2 or 3 weeks is that I get, come on, Luderman, we need some rain. I mean, it can't be nice 10 days in a row. And I'm thinking, well, that's true. I mean, it can be nice 10 days in a row, but yes, we do need some rain, and there is a lot of drought to go around. Obviously, the growing season is coming to an end. I don't know. If it's going to be rain free for an extended period of time, would you rather it was 30 degrees and cloudy, or would you rather it was sunny and 85? You know,
Right.
so I'd say the lesser of two evils. It's nice to have a nice stretch of weather, but yes, we are way overdue for some decent rainfall. And you know, interesting. I looked at the numbers year to date. Year to date, we're just a little under. I think we're like an inch and a half under year to date with rain and melted snow. But most of that, you know, came in the first half of the year. So we are behind with the warm weather. But it is what it is what we say.
Yeah. And sometimes that's where the numbers can be a little bit misleading, because just because, you know, the numbers hint at one thing, if the rain, you know, comes all in 1 month and then leaves you alone for several months after that, it doesn't really help, you know, gardeners and farmers. Case in point here in Milwaukee, obviously we had those historic floods back around the 9th of August. So yeah, our yearly totals are above still, but we are around half of the typical rainfall for September. So we've had a very dry September. Although we didn't start